Today, we're going to unpack a really powerful new framework for leadership, straight from the book, Biohacking Leadership. And it's an idea that could completely change how you think about your role. So let's just dive right in. So the whole idea kicks off with this really provocative question. Is your leadership running on outdated software? It gets right to the heart of the matter, rethinking leadership not as some fixed personality trait, but as a high-performance system that you can actually, upgrade. And why is this whole upgrade idea so critical? Well, it's because so many leaders right now are completely caught in what the book calls the leadership burnout trap. I mean, let's be real, modern leadership is incredibly demanding. It's just not about strategy anymore. It requires this huge amount of personal energy, focus, and resilience. And the book argues that this always-on expectation we all feel, it isn't just tough, it's fundamentally broken. And this comparison right here, this is where the light bulb really goes on. We're so used to thinking of leadership as static or something you're born with. You either have it or you don't. And that whole mindset is just draining. But the biohacked approach, it flips this completely on its head. It sees leadership as dynamic, something you can actually engineer to be sustainable. Okay, so if the old way is totally busted, what's the fix? Well, the book's big answer is a fundamental change in perspective. We have to stop seeing leadership as just a personality trait and start seeing it as a system. So let's get into it. What exactly is biohacking leadership? It's basically about taking all these optimization principles from fields like health and technology and aiming them directly at your own mind and body. The whole goal is to amplify your influence and performance by treating yourself as the core engine of your leadership. This quote from the book just nails it. Leadership as something you can engineer, optimize, and upgrade. And this isn't about being fake or inauthentic. It's about being intentional with the one system you have the most control over, which is you. Okay, that all sounds great in theory, right? But what does it actually look like? How do you do it? That's where the optimization toolkit comes in. The whole framework is built on 3 main pillars, super simple to remember. First, you got your physical hardware, that's your body. Then, your mental software, your mind. And finally, you build a feedback system, so you can keep getting better. Let's break each of those down. All right, let's tackle pillar 1, optimize your physical hardware. And look, this is the absolute foundation. Think about it. You can't run the latest, most amazing software on a computer that's constantly crashing, right? Well, you can't be an effective leader if your body is running on empty. And this really means you have to start treating your body like the high-performance operating system it is. We're talking about prioritizing sleep, not just getting it, but having solid routines, fueling your body strategically, not just eating whatever's around, and of course, integrating consistent movement. The book even points to getting real data. Using wearables isn't about being obsessive. It's about genuinely understanding your own performance cycles. So, once your hardware is tuned up, it's time for pillar 2, upgrading your mental software. This is where we get into the cognitive and emotional game of leadership. And this chart really paints a picture, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the reactive mind, driven by stress, distraction, and just heading straight for burnout. But on the other, you have the regulated mind, which is all about focus, clarity, and resilience. The entire goal here is to consciously engineer that shift from reactive to regulated. So how do you actually do that? Well, the book offers some really tangible upgrades. Things like strengthening your attention with mindfulness, actually blocking out time for deep work, and using super simple breathing exercises to manage stress in the moment. It's even about being strategic enough to align your biggest decisions with your peak cognitive times. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. Pillar 3, build your feedback system. Honestly, this is what makes the whole thing sustainable. An optimized leader isn't some finished product. They are constantly learning, adapting, and evolving. The book calls this the leadership feedback loop. It's a really simple but incredibly powerful cycle. You act, you collect data from your team or through self-reflection, you use that data to refine your approach, and then you repeat. It's a process for continuous improvement. But just like any high-performance system, this one needs regular maintenance. The source material is crystal clear on this. Recovery is not a luxury, it is an absolute necessity. So that means doing things like scheduling real digital detoxes and constantly testing and refining your own leadership protocols. So, what happens when you put it all together? You optimize the hardware, you upgrade the software, and you build that feedback loop. What do you create? The book calls this the engineered leader. And I think this is probably the single most important takeaway. This whole idea isn't about finding shortcuts or little tricks to gain the system. It's about consciously building a sustainable system for your own peak performance. It's about playing the long game. Which leaves one final question for you to think about. As you look at your own leadership system, your energy, your focus, your habits, what's the first bug you're going to go fix today?